Hey everyone, welcome to the Kirkpatrick Podcast. It is your girl Vanessa, and today we've got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to learning and evaluation, but I want to talk a little bit about like current events because I went down this rabbit hole situation like I always do, and I just want to pull up, make sure I have my notes here. Fantastic. Okay. So I started thinking about some new fun topics that we could be talking about. So it wasn't always so educational all the time and things like that. And so I thought we'd bring a series about current events and applying some lessons from current events to our space. So reason for this, first and foremost, is, well, in the world of learning, we talk a lot about speaking the language of the business. And one of the conversations I had with my editor, P.S., she finished the book. It is in developmental editing right now. It is so good. It is so good. I'm not just saying that because it's my book and I know it's like having a child, although, you know that I'm very honest with you. It is such a refreshing new take on the Kirkpatrick model and having it be an organizational driver, not just a learning driver that, oh, there's so much goodness in it. I can like the fact that I have to wait a whole year until you all see it and get your hands on it is going to actually be very sad for me. I'm in Aries, instant gratification, like I'm impulsive. I need it now. Impatient is the word I was looking for. But anyway, so I was thinking about that and I was thinking about how, we can't really only stick to, looking at learning when it comes to our work, right? If we keep our head down in education and learning content, how can we ever partner with the business to make our employees' lives better, to make the business better, to understand the language of the business? Right? If we're only consuming content in the learning space. And so I'm taking a little bit of a liberty on that one. And looking out at pop culture and current events and seeing and having just a little bit of a conversation around, what I'm seeing. And the first thing I'm going to start with, she launched last night, Beyoncé and the Cowboy tour. I know there's going to be a lot of groans. This is going to feel maybe a little bit out of place for some of our original Kirkpatrick friends, community members. So just go with me here. To be honest, and to be very clear, I am not part of the Beehive. Just like a huge Beyonce fan. I listen to Spanish music. So I'm not pulling Beyonce here. I'm like not a Swiftie. Don't come for me for what I'm about to say. I'm just here relaying facts. Okay. I think she's great. And so a couple of things. So anytime Beyonce has a tour, it is one of the most anticipated tours of all time, right? Was the Renaissance tour that she did a couple years ago just did amazing things. If we look at Taylor Swift, right? Not that I was going to talk about her, but we'll pull her in. Part of the reason the Eras tour did so well was because it was, she delivers a good performance every time. She doesn't really do these tours often. And so when she's out there and she pulls back and she lets her current music ride for a while. And then she comes out with a new album, and Beyonce does the exact same thing. And so one of the things when I was like looking at this at this tour and the anticipation behind it, I was thinking about the value of your brand and how, if we look at, this is going to be hard because I am a fan of her personally. If you look at Jennifer Lopez, right? Like we all saw that she canceled her summer tour that she was supposed to have. And I think unfortunately for her, besides the whole Ben Affleck of it all, there was a brand issue there when it came to her music and being a touring artist and things like that. And I started thinking about, our learning departments and like these learning departments that are just so great, so amazing, and that always put out great, amazing training. And what are some parallels here? And I was like, I think part of the problem L&D departments have is your brand. When we come out the gate with subpar training, usually in the form of compliance training, it is the first impression for our employees of what to expect when it comes to training. The other challenge that we have is we come oftentimes from other organizations and that maybe had bad training. So we just kind of we have that predisposition that this training is probably not going to be that great. And so we're battling that as well. And so part of influencing behavior is your brand and your reputation, right? And if the learning department is taking the time to really put together this learning experience and putting together the right mix of, taking the tour example, the music, the way that the songs are strung together, the ways that older songs are remixed, right? To feel fresh and to feel new again and to provide some engagement, but still having some of that nostalgia for how much you love that song, right? And you think of the lights and the experience from, you walking in. Maybe they have, again, like I said, I listen to a lot of Spanish music. So I don't concert very often, but I went to Bad Bunny and Karol G like the last couple of years. And when I walked in, they gave me a branded wristband that lit up, that had these lights in it that were all connected. And so with certain songs, they would light up and it was a really cool kind of bonding moment, right? But that was part of the experience. You felt part of the tour. You felt part of the entire experience and your neighbors next to you that you probably didn't know, something that bonded you all together. These little things help to inform behavior and expectations. And so when we think about the importance of emotional tie-ins and the emotionality of it all, and getting people to really feel bought into your experience, brand is everything. And so I know that part of the challenge y'all face is the fact that first things first, right? People have to complete their compliance training. They're not even given access to systems before that. Y'all, that's a cop-out. I'm just going to say it. I know it's not going to make people a fan of me, but we have to get through compliance training first is a cop-out. If Beyoncé waited until the music started for the experience, because they have to, check in, if they have to get to their seats, they have to go through security, it loses a little bit of its luster. Some part of the fun is the anticipation, because the fact that the experience starts as soon as really you get your ticket, right? Because sometimes the tickets are branded or you might get special emails. The experience starts before you get there. And we need to be thinking about the experience before they click play, before they walk in the door, right? What does the branding look like? What type of emails are we sending out? Can we send them a video? There's so many things that we can do today with email systems and embedding videos, embedding images, and sending them to maybe a SharePoint or, a landing page on the website that's only available for those folks that are going to be employees. There are ways to get those sorts of experiences and special touches so people start to feel bought in and emotionally tied to the work that you're going to provide. And you want to know what that does? A really good setup and experience gives you grace if there are some hiccups, right? Where there might be some training, aka your compliance training, that does not feel really great, that doesn't feel very reflective of your entire brand and your learning experience. As long as you end up providing what it is that they're expecting, they give you grace for that because the experience leading up was amazing. They know that you probably have to get through these compliance trainings, and they know that when it comes to the things that you are going to provide that you created, that is where the magic really is. And we're not really expecting much from your compliance training. Let's be honest. We know that those are often just check the box, get it done. Although I will say my husband just told me that he took, I think he said it was cybersecurity training, and I was like really into it. It felt like a Netflix show. And I named the vendor who it was. And he's like, yeah, I think that's who it was. And then he's like, the guy that did this. And I was like, it's been a while since I saw it, but yes. So those types of emotional reactions can actually still happen with compliance training. So please don't hear me say that. And so where this fits in with like the Kirkpatrick model, because I know you're all probably like, Vanessa, where are we talking? Where's the evaluation here? When we talk about reasons to change behavior and the likelihood someone is going to apply what they've learned, when you've given them a really great experience, when you've started the transfer of knowledge to behavior from before they stepped foot into your training or they clicked, the play button, they're much more bought in because they want to feel part of the organization. They want to feel part of the experience. They want to feel part of something. We all do. We don't really want to, humans are not lonely by nature. We don't want to live by ourselves. We crave connection with others, some more than others. And some days a little bit more than others. And some days I don't want to talk to nobody. And at a certain point, the pendulum swings and your girl gets the feels again. And she's like, I need to get out a little bit. I need to get out of the house. I need to see some humans. So by nature, we crave connection and community. Part of the required drivers at level 3 that help to elicit the performance that we are looking for is social learning, is community, is coaching and mentorship. It's all part of wanting to feel part of this experience, part of the culture, part of the organization. And when you don't create that experience for wanting to be part of the community, it's like you went to the concert and you're like, yep, cool. The songs were good, but I don't really remember much about how I felt. And I don't really feel like I need to go back and see another concert and see them play again. I mean, if you're me, I go see New Kids on the Block every single time they're playing near me. My best friend and I go. 1, because of the nostalgia. 2, because I love Jordan Knight. And 3, because I know I'm going to get a great experience. So I'm bought in. I was it Giselle? I think, it was with Giselle. I was pregnant with Giselle. And so she was due in August. So I went in July. So I'm 8 months pregnant. And I went to, where was that? Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Okay. And yes, it's Newark, not Newark. So if you know anything about the Rock, there's a lot of steps to climb to get to your seat sometimes. And for someone who's 8 months pregnant, not super fun to have to climb all those steps to get to your seat. Plus I get nervous. I'm going to fall down these really tiny steps, like when I'm not pregnant, let alone pregnant. And I still took my pregnant behind to this concert because I know the experience is going to be great. I'm not technically a blockhead, but I want, I'm in that group, right? I don't pay a membership or anything. But I have that connection with others and it's great. You meet up with people, you catch them at all the same concerts and things like that. I have it in my head. I'm going to have a great time every time I go to this concert. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to laugh. It's a great experience I have with my best friend. We're going to do this again every single time. And now that I live in Florida and she lives in New Jersey, I can guarantee you one of us is flying so we can both go together. That is the power of experience. That is the power of community and embedding and creating behaviors and behavior change. Part of behavior is the branding and the expectation. If part of your brand is the training is never going to match what you do out in the field, you will never, ever, ever change behavior. Every single time someone goes through your training, they're going to say in their heads, the training never matches what happens in the field. I'm just going to go, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to check the box, and then I'm going to throw out everything and go do what we do in the field and learn it on the job. That's a different topic for a different day. But that is part of it. That's your brand. And we look for these ways to engage. We look for tools. We look for, we're in various LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups asking, how do you make this, more fun, this and that? How about we stop and take a moment and say, as a department, let's do a brand moment, right? Let's think about how we can reposition ourselves as a department, as a unit, before we start to think about how am I going to make this one training more fun and engaging? Because it has to be consistent and streamlined throughout the organization, as a whole. So it's a little bit about the Cowboy Carter tour, and how it can apply to learning. Now, one of the things that I do want to bring up about the tour, which is a detour a little bit about it, and something that happened is, so for a while they were saying that the tour numbers were not selling out, that they had to drop price, and that people were just not buying. And I think as of when I was looking again this morning, they were still saying the tour was great, the show was great, and there were still a lot of tickets that weren't sold, quietly, really cheap. So I want to kind of talk about some of the things I was thinking about when it came to that. So obviously we're talking about Cowboy Carter tour. We're talking about Beyoncé pivoting into country music. That was a big, big shift. And for, I think, her diehard fans, really great. And they love it. For everyone else, that's fans, but not maybe a diehard fan, not part of the Beehive. To be clear, if the new kids decided to go country, I would absolutely follow, probably. Actually, maybe not. Anyway, one of the things that I think is why it's not gaining as much traction as, let's say, Taylor going from country to pop is 2 reasons. One, I think, is a business reason. And when you are in business, you should niche when you first start out and like go really deep in a niche, and really become the go-to person in that niche. And then you can widen out from there. Right. And that's what Taylor did. She was super niched into country, and then she was able to widen out into pop, and change from there and adjust her brand. Going from, so Beyonce had that, right? She was like more of an R&B artist, then more pop. And now she's trying to completely change her niche into country and like grab a new genre. It's just a little too much of a flip that is just not working. And the other reason I think is because she's going from wide to like now she's like niched into something, and she's alienating a whole bunch of people who don't, like, I'm not a big country fan, who don't. And the thing I was thinking about when I was thinking about this, like, well, like, why? And a couple of my notes, right? This goes back to level 1. She missed the relevance of it all. She made an assumption, number 1, that people will follow her wherever she goes, whatever genre she goes to, which obviously is not true. And she assumed that people will be able to see themselves as part of this like country movement, if you will. And we don't. Part of the appeal and love that we have for, you know, Taylor songs or Beyonce songs is the fact that we identify with them, right? Like, we've been heartbroken, or, you know, trust me, we wanted to take the, what was it? The Lemonade song where she had the bat and she's like smashing everything. Listen, I would have definite times I would love like a good Lemonade moment and like smash the world around me. That's why those rage rooms are awesome. And what she did was assume relevance. And it's the same thing that we do. We assume that training or this example or this setup, this story is going to be relevant to our learner. And then our learner doesn't even see themselves in it. And so the lesson here is that relevance has to be tested and not assumed. You cannot just ask your one go-to person in, you know, that learner persona or that group and say like, oh, does this make sense? You have to test it with a wider audience, because inherently by going to someone that we're friendly with, that we know really well, that's already biased and flawed. And also we're just getting one person's idea and background. So that's not very helpful. And so I wonder if in your process, you're doing some of these tests with your audience about the perceived relevance. It's not just about whether or not the business wants a training and like the impact. It's also about, does the learner feel like this is relevant to their role? We'll talk about AI. We're talking about current events right now. This is wild. I'm on 24 minutes talking about Beyonce and Taylor Swift and learning. Like, this is, I cannot wait for y'all to hear this. Anyway, we know CEOs, COOs, CFOs, stakeholders want us to be using AI, right? They want organizations to really evolve and innovate. And there are organizations and people out there that are like, okay, great that you want these things. And I know that it's important to you, but I'm just not seeing the relevance for my job right now, because I don't see that how we can use anything other than Copilot. And I mean, Copilot is cool, but it's not going to get us where exactly I need to be to have actual, time saved and things like that. We don't have a policy in place about what data I can put in there, what, I can't put in there. I can't truly test because I don't have access to anything other than Microsoft Copilot because of the security. So I feel limited in what I can do and how I can find ways to innovate. So great, we can talk about AI and you can train me on different things in AI, but like, am I going to actually apply this stuff? Probably not, because the environment that I am is truly not supportive of it. So my recommendation here is, really looking at measurement of relevancy happening before the training even is launched, is before it's even designed. When we're thinking about, it's not just about finding out what the level 4 is when you're starting your process, it's about also going out and speaking with stakeholders. And stakeholders are not just stakeholders in positions of power. Stakeholders are also your learners. So talk to your learners and identify their relevancy. So you want to make sure that they're going to be able to see themselves in the training, that they're going to be able to see themselves in the work, that they're going to actually feel like they can apply it. And if they can't, then that's a conversation to be having with your stakeholders that are asking for this training. So I would love to hear from you all. I have more current events, but I'm going to hold on this one for now. I'll pause here. I'll go on my next one in a future episode, but love to know more about your take on branding and behavior, and also your take on measuring relevance and when you do it, if you do it, and how important you think that is to integrating into your process. And until next time, friends, I will catch y'all on the next Kirkpatrick podcast. Bye, y'all.